Welcome back to another RX Muscle Spotlight. Today's guest is not only a very successful wellness competitor, she's also a physician. And her name is Dr. Sunny Andrews. Welcome to our show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on.
Wow, I love the Arnold shirt, by the way, first of all. But
Thanks.
you
Me too.
are, not only are you a successful competitor, but you're actually a medical doctor. So I'm very impressed. I always say that women are much better multitaskers than men, and you guys can do multiple things. So first off, congratulations on the big win at the New York Pro and the Pittsburgh Pro this past year. And
Thank you so much.
you're
Thank you so much.
going back to the Wellness Olympia, which is exciting. And you placed sixth at that last year, correct?
Correct, yes.
Yeah. And third at the Arnold this past year. So you had a really, really good year.
Yeah, it was a great year. I competed 12 times in 18 months, so I really got my feet wet that first year and a half of competing.
Yeah. Now I want people to get the full magnitude of what you've done, because you did all this while working as a physician, as a doctor. How the heck do you manage to get enough time to do all your training, your cardio, plus work, plus food prep? How do you do it all?
I think the bottom line to everything, no matter what your profession is just time management. At the end of the day, it's just making sure that you're sticking to your schedule and getting everything done. And
Yeah. That sounds good. That sounds good in theory, but you know what? I wish I always had 8 more hours in every day, and I don't even work. I work my own full-time job. Obviously, I have my own business, but I don't know how you do it with the prep. The prep is so, you're so into yourself when you're prepping, especially when you're dieting, about eating and going to the gym and cardio. It's got to be crazy.
I was fortunate to walk a ton of steps when I was on call during surgery residency, and I would not have to do as much cardio that way.
Right.
And there was little things that I felt like could have been seen as shortcuts where I was doing rounds, so I wasn't necessarily on the Stairmaster and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that kind of was an advantage. And then also with the wellness division, I had already trained upper body prior to competing.
Right.
So I kind of had to bring my upper body down. So instead of being in the gym 6 days a week, training an hour and a half, I really had to cut it down. So I did save a lot of time in that aspect as well.
So actually not going to the gym actually was your best friend, essentially.
Yeah, and it still is, and it's crazy because like most bodybuilders, training is my therapy.
Sure.
But I've had to learn to try and limit the amount of actual weightlifting I do once I get into prep, so that I can make sure I have that unbalanced look that they want.
Right. Now, I want to brag a little bit for you, because you won't do it yourself, but you were not just like a family physician. You were a surgeon originally, and now you switched your specialty to sports medicine.
Yeah, I was in general surgery residency, and it was quite intense hours. Most weeks was over. I mean, we're supposed to say 80 hours a week, but it was like 100 hours a week.
Wow.
And it was rigorous, and I enjoyed the intensity, but not really what I was doing in terms of impacting people's lives. Although it was very impactful when you're doing surgery, I just felt like I wanted an approach that was going to have more preventative measures than.
It's interesting.
That's me.
Yeah, but it's interesting because you know what? I could sit in front of a computer for 6 hours and do emails and with all my stuff. But, standing, in an operating room for an 8-hour surgery, how do you guys do that? I never understood that, even for people who don't work out and who don't have to prepare for a show. How do you stay so focused for 8 hours? Do you take caffeine, or what enables you to have that kind of laser focus?
I think the epinephrine. So your adrenaline is going, and so my surgery residency was very trauma focused, and a lot of the surgeries were life-saving measures. Right. So you're not necessarily. It's not like reading a textbook where you're trying to focus and you're getting bored and stuff. There's blood squirting, there's people screaming and stuff like that. So those are the really long cases.
Right.
The other cases that are long, when I had a month of urology, for example, and it was an 8-hour case where we're literally building a new bladder out of someone's intestines.
Wow.
it takes so much focus to make sure that you're doing this really detailed work that you have no choice but to be focused.
Now, when you're doing like a residency, a lot of this is learning for you, right? You're actually learning to do stuff like that. Is it very like overwhelming? Like when you like rebuilding a bladder, you say it so nonchalantly, but I mean, that's serious stuff, you know?
It was, yeah, that's a very cool case. It's overwhelming. Yeah, I think that the phrase they use in medical school and residency is you're just trying to drink from a fire hydrant. There's just so much information, and you try and get whatever you can get without drowning.
Yeah.
But I think that's medicine in a nutshell. You're trying to just do the best that you can.
Right. Right. Now, what made you decide, you know what, surgery is just not for me. I want to, do more preventative medicine. Was it because you were involved in bodybuilding and being healthy yourself?
There was two different reasons. The first was a selfish reason. It was lifestyle. Thinking about my future, I realized that if I really wanted to be the best physician or surgeon or whatever I was going to do in medicine, that you have to put your all into it. And if surgery was going to be the case, then I really had to give up bodybuilding at the end of the day. Yep. And a lot of the surgeons I worked with, they said that to me. First week of residency, you're going to have to choose. And being an intern, hearing that, I don't think I was offended, but I was pretty disappointed to hear that, because I'm like, there's so many physicians that have hobbies and it's so great. They don't. They live, breathe, sometimes sleep, surgery. That's it. That's it. And they're really good at what they do. But for me to have a focus in medicine and also have a hobby, they had to coincide. So I took a step back. I did a year of research, figured out where I could try and focus my attention and figure out a field that would allow me to have a good lifestyle and use my hobby to do something that would be preventative, because I saw and that brings me to my second reason. The second reason was because I just saw so many people. General surgery is a lot of bowel perforations or people who had poor lifestyle choices coming in for life-saving measures. And I just kept thinking to myself, if this person had exercised or ate better, sometimes it was no fault of their own, but if they had a different lifestyle, maybe they wouldn't have ended up here. And I was like, I want to have a different type of impact in people's lives, not the one where they're, being filleted open and we're like, I hope and pray that we can do something to help you.
It's very refreshing to hear you say what you're saying, because that's exactly the way I felt when I was in medical school, except I realized this in my third year of medical school, because, they're making you do rotations. And I'm like, you know what? I got to give up. I'm going to give up bodybuilding. That's the only way I can be a good doctor and finish this off, because if I don't make this my true love, then I'm not going to be good at it and I'm not going to get through it. And I loved bodybuilding, and I loved something just drew me to that over there, to the preventative medicine, competing thing. And I don't know why, because I was never a quitter. I'm not like one of these guys that like quits anything, because I feel like I can do anything I put my mind to. And so I made that decision, and I should have, well, I guess you can't regret anything, but if I would have finished school, I could have then possibly gone in another direction like you did. But I felt that even getting through school, because I still had a year and a half left, was a lot. There was a lot to sacrifice, and that was kind of like my, for a male bodybuilder, the early 20s are like your real peak years. I just felt like if I would wait till 25 to start trying to get back into it, I would never be able to do it. But anyway, so you got basically two careers going, and how do you see, integrating the two? Like what's your like ultimate vision, like 5 years down the line, where would you like to be?
So big, huge picture. I want there to be, there's already a field called preventative medicine, but I want there to be kind of like a sub specialty where it's exercise medicine, where it's not just sports medicine, which is kind of more injury focused. There's pain and rehabilitation medicine, but I want there to be a focus in medicine that really focuses on nutrition and exercise. And it sounds so simplistic, but there's not. And I really hope at some point that through my research and everything that we can kind of develop that. And I say
Right.
we because I'm trying to get, there's so many physicians that have healthy lifestyles. They're not the majority,
Right.
but I think people really, they can see the benefit in that.
Sure.
Obviously, like big pharma and
Right.
other specialties that rely on patients being ill don't really like that. And I mean, that's awful. That's not something that you should really say as a physician,
Right.
but it's the truth.
Sure. Are you in favor of like hormone replacement and all that stuff?
If it's indicated, yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's the big thing now. Men want testosterone, women want
Right.
testosterone, whatever,
So I'm not, and then that's why I mean, if it's indicated, I think that there's a fine line with it.
Right.
And I think if the hormones are, you're trying to balance someone's hormones for
Sure.
optimization and stuff like that, then it makes sense. But I mean, I have just even co-residents that will tell me that they're trying, young 20-something-year-olds that
Yeah.
are trying to go get on testosterone just for their gym gains. And, I'm not like, oh, shame on you, or I think that's bad, but I mean, that's where the fine line is.
Yeah, well, what happens? The people watch TikTok and they think that everyone needs. They think when they're 12 years old they got to start the hormone replacement already because they want to have higher testosterone levels than everyone else does. That's the new thing. Let me ask you a question. Let's talk about wellness. What attracted you to wellness first of all? Because you've been in wellness pretty much your whole competitive career. So
Yeah, wellness. I was attracted to wellness. So I played soccer and ran track growing up. So I had more of a muscular lower body. When I train in the gym, I am always training with a lot of intensity, and strength training is also incorporated. So the style of training was really, really what I like to do. And then with figure, women's physique, and women's bodybuilding, I don't genetically really put on a lot of size up in my upper body. So it just kind of fit. So for me, I had I had a category that kind of fit how I wanted to train and already fit kind of my build.
right.
This is my client.
I was gonna say that's one of your clients. Yeah, that's
my best friend. She just competed at our pro debut.
So in addition to being a doctor and being a competitor, you're also coaching people too. Holy mackerel.
Yes, I have a on-season fitness.
Those are some serious quads, though. I got to tell you, you got some pretty great quads.
Thank you. Thanks.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'1".
Okay, yeah. Now, were you a gymnast or something like that?
No, just like, well, I mean, I was in gymnastics when I was very young, but soccer and track and field were my focus.
Gotcha.
Focuses.
What did you run? Were you a sprinter?
800 meter and
wow.
1500 meter are my two favorite.
Really? And you got short legs. That's amazing. What's your best times?
Pardon me?
What were your best times?
So I stopped running track and field my sophomore year in high school because I enjoyed soccer. I was better at track and field, but I enjoyed soccer. But in the 800 meter, my best time I think was 2:08, and my best time in
That's great. Hold on, wait a second. That's really good. That's not like so. I was a track runner right now. That's really good.
My best time in the 15 was 4:12. But I was probably, out of anything, I will say this with confidence, out of anything I've ever done in my whole life, medicine, bodybuilding, anything, the best thing I'm at, running is the thing I am the absolute best at. Like,
no, you're not like good. That's great. That's like.
But I'll say that. So my problem was I had so much. I was so anxious about losing. I was so focused.
Oh, really?
I was undefeated in the first of all in the 800. I lived in Canada at the time and went to nationals. I was undefeated, and I was really, I don't know why. I was really, really anxious. So I wanted to play a team sport. I didn't like all the pressure, all the attention.
Right.
I think it would be a different story. I get excited thinking about it. But when I was younger, I just would, and I wouldn't like cry. I wouldn't underperform or anything. I just didn't like the pressure, and it is what it is.
I was, a top Division three, not Division 1. I'm not pretending to be a great track star. I was a top Division 3 runner. I was winning races, and you and I had times that were close to each other. I mean, that's how good she is. I mean, it's really good. I mean, I'm surprised you didn't get like recruited by like colleges and stuff like that, you know?
I didn't, yeah, I didn't run track and field past my sophomore year. I just, played soccer, got recruited for D1 soccer,
Oh,
but
you did? Okay.
Right. I think I was really good for, I was really good at soccer just because I was fast.
Right. No, tell me about it. That's great. And that's endurance too. Those races are the most brutal races, you know, those people don't realize. It's a sprint for a mile essentially, or a sprint for a half mile. I mean, that's what it really is.
I mean, just talking about it now gets me all excited. Like I want to go outside and sprint, but I can't because of wellness.
I'd like to get like the top wellness girls and do like a 400-meter race between you guys and see who would win. I think you'd crush everyone pretty much, but
I would do that in a heartbeat. I'll do it with my heels on.
Oh, see that would be people would want to watch that. That would definitely get a lot of. You could definitely charge pay-per-view for that. I would guarantee.
You know, the 400 though. So I have a younger sister, and she is also very athletic. And I know and she would always beat me in the 100.
Oh, she's a sprinter. Okay.
She's fast. She's a sprinter. I have more endurance than she does. But the 400, I think, is the sweet spot where we might be neck and neck. And out of that whole lineup at Olympia this year, Marissa would be the person I think that would be right up there sprinting next to me.
That's the most brutal. People don't realize the 400 meters is the most brutal race of all because it's a sprint all out. But for a whole lap around the track, 400 meters was a quarter mile. And it's just the last 100 meters, you want to just die, basically. You know, that's the best way to describe it, right?
Yeah. So I'm going home for Christmas this year. I have been all over the place the last few years, residency, whatever. And there's been a tradition in my family that no one's allowed to eat on Christmas morning before we do a push-up contest.
Oh, really? You win that?
I would win sometimes. Marissa's beat me sometimes, but I think this year we really need to switch it up to this 400 meter.
Yeah. Can you videotape it for me? I want to see it. I want to see it.
Yeah, I think we have to do that now.
I thought you were going to say there's a tradition in my family where every Thanksgiving, before we go eat Thanksgiving, we go and do the turkey trot that morning. You know how they always have these like turkey trots, like 5K turkey trots?
We do that too. But that's not competitive. That's just kind of like, to warm up.
See, if my family did that, no one was athletic in my family. My father played football, but he didn't understand running and bodybuilding. That was like foreign to him. But so I was like the black sheep in that sense. All right, Olympia's coming up. Wellness. You obviously had a stellar year, 2 pro wins at 2 big shows. You also had the 3rd place at the Arnold. You were 6th place last year at the Olympia. You're coming back better than you were last year. What would make you happy? Obviously, you want to win, but what would make you happy coming away from the show? Top 5, top 3? What are you looking for?
So, my focus was obviously like cliche: beat your old self, do your best, all that kind of stuff. Beat all the people that have beat you before.
Right.
And that being said, that leaves me in top. So far, that'll be top 4.
Okay.
So if I right now, if I'm competing against everyone that's beat me, I'll be about top 3, top 4. So that's pretty much was my aim. Obviously, who goes to the Olympia and doesn't want to win? That's the dream, of course.
Yes, of course.
And that's my goal, and nothing short of that. But it's a competitive lineup. I know it can go anyway. But that's pretty much where we're at. So far, I have not. Everyone that has beat me is Brazilian. So
it's a very racially discriminated sport here.
And
the Brazilians are the best.
They're really great at wellness, and I mean, and it is what it is. So what I've tried to do differently this prep is kind of incorporate some of I have a Brazilian posing coach. I wanted to know what makes them so good at wellness, because I'm like, if you can't beat them, you got to join them. You have to figure out what makes them so good.
Right. It's the Brazilian genetics. Let me ask you this. What do you squat? Do you still do free weight squats?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I haven't. Yeah. So I have not done just a free weight squat for about probably since John Meadows was my coach, which was last summer.
Right.
Yeah.
What were you squatting back then?
like 315, but it was
Wow.
like, yeah, I'm strong. I'm very strong, but like I'm very cautious not to get too just big everywhere
Right.
because I'm so short
True.
that if I don't have kind of impressive ratios, I lose that any type of shape.
You have a very small waist though, which is, impressive, and I think that that's why you have such a good, taper and everything like that. It's sometimes when you're short, it's hard to have that big V taper. A lot of short girls have like a thicker waist.
And that's, yeah, I appreciate that. And that's by no accident. I've done my own training for quite some time. And I've been very cautious to make sure that I don't get thick obliques.
Right.
And I mean, like the way I like to train, if I were just lifting all heavy all the time, it probably I'd look like a little meatball. But like, I have to avoid that.
There was a girl, Michelle Ralabate, back in the 90s who was a pro bodybuilder. She was she turned pro as lightweight, but she was like I think she was even shorter than you. She was probably like 5 foot. And she would have been perfect for wellness too, but she was jacked, like just a lot of muscle. I mean, your legs rival any of the pro bodybuilder girls' legs. I mean, no doubt. Matter of fact, you might have better legs than any pro bodybuilder out there, I think, looking at them. So that's
made my whole life right now.
Seriously. I mean, I think that even the women bodybuilders would say, man, I'd love to have her legs. I mean, so you definitely are doing whatever you're doing right. That's for sure with those legs.
Thanks.
Where would you like? Well, let me ask you this: where do you see wellness going in terms of in the future? Is the look going to stay what it is right now? You think it's going to morph into something more than it is, more muscle, less muscle? What's your instincts?
Like every category, it's going to evolve, and my hope for the category is that there is always an aesthetic goal that's in mind, right? Because just getting big everywhere, there's not going to be any difference between women's bodybuilding and wellness if it just goes in that direction. Yep. So I think that, I mean, and even going to my road to the Olympia in Pittsburgh a couple of weeks ago, the Attila and Tyler did say something that really kind of hit home to me and made me feel a lot better. But they're like, wellness is an offshoot of bikini. They're like, it's not women's bodybuilding. And they said that to me twice. And that, to me, that really hit home because I'm like, yeah, it's not. It still has, you still have to have your femininity. So I think that they're going to try and really emphasize that with who they choose for their top 5, top 10 at Olympia, where they're going to reward not just size, not just shape, but like the whole aesthetic, the whole package. Right. So I think that as the category is going to evolve, I think it's going to just be freakier shapes. I think that there's going to be a lot of people with just the genetic freaks that have, crazy glutes, crazy legs, really small waist. Mm-hmm. Those are the people I think that are just going to really excel in the category. You got the right package there. Let me tell you that. But I want to ask you this one question as a physician, and I don't want no names so that we're not, you're not saying anything. Do you believe that some of the top wellness girls have implants, butt implants? We've heard all these, crazy rumors. Do you believe that? I look at you have muscle. I could tell you don't have anything going on there, but do you think that other girls do? Implants, no. So implants are pretty easy to spot. I competed in the WBFF prior to competing in the NPC IFBB. Right. And implants you can spot from a mile away. The skin looks different. There's no striations. Right. They have high level of complications. They start sliding. They look awful. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen any pros with implants. Gotcha. I don't know. I haven't looked at any of the NPC. Right. Any of that, but there's no pros that have butt implants. I can say that confidently. If there's other things that people are injecting, I don't know if you've heard of PMMA. Yeah, sure. Yeah, the way that can be done, it's kind of hard to tell if some people have it. Some people have it. They have it overdone. Right. Some people have it done poorly, and there's funny shapes and stuff. Yeah, that's what I'm noticing. And you can start seeing that in some people possibly, but really if someone really is trying to prove that they can do what I did when I was accused of having glute implants, and I went Not by choice. I was at the hospital actually because I had rhabdo, and I got a CT scan.
Did you really do
I
that?
was like, it's
Oh,
all real.
that's who people really accuse you of having fake butt?
Oh, I mean, it happens probably once a year since I was like 14, which is crazy. I'm so used to it at this point. I'm
Really?
sure it
Well, in
happens all the
clothing
time.
maybe, but when you have a bikini on, I could definitely tell that's muscle. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I mean,
Yeah, it can. I mean, I'm convinced. I know it is, but like I was just like, I'll get And there was another thing. I got a DEXA scan. I got a DEXA scan and a
right.
CT scan. All the whole thing. I'm like, I'll get an MRI, whatever, because
Yeah.
you can if it's there's sometimes they have calcium deposits in this one injection. I forget what it's called, but there's some type of filler that you can, and it shows up on MRI and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so
Well,
I did that because I thought that would maybe prove people wrong. But you got to scroll in my Instagram now to find it.
oh yeah.
So the people
Tyler's
that were
like,
only following me for a year, they probably haven't been updated.
that's great. I'm so happy you did it. That's really cool. That's like, because you're in the hospital setting anyway. You could just be like, all right, yeah, give me a CT of my butt so that I can prove to everyone that it's real. That's crazy. And that's a compliment to you. That's a compliment to you because you could prove it actually.
Yeah.
There was a big controversy in the 90s where Sean Ray was accusing everyone of having calf implants. Like he thought Flex was having calf implants, and he wanted to have him get x-rayed. The truth was he was just doing it to mess with Flex's head and before the Olympia so that Flex would screw up, which he did, and it worked. But, that was back then guys, would do that and get calf implants. Nowadays, people just shoot the muscle up with something,
I found it.
You found it? I put it
Yeah.
on. He found it on your Instagram. Hold on. Let's see.
Yeah,
Sunny
I
Andrews.
think
By the way, is Sunny your real name? Or is that a nickname?
no. My real. There we go. That's.
That's great. That it's like it's CT porno, I call it,
Yeah, it's after I posted that, I feel like kind of embarrassed, not gonna lie, but like I posted it and it is what it is.
Talk about taking your clothes off, right? That's about as naked as you can get right there.
Yeah. Oh no, I think I had my hospital gown done, but
well, we're looking through everything, is what I'm saying.
right.
That was my point.
I had just competed though, so I was like, this. I look very lean in this.
You do have some big glute muscles there, according to that CT scan. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Thanks.
Well, I want to wish you the best of luck. Oh, so getting back, is Sunny your real name or no?
That's what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, I forgot what you asked me.
Yeah.
No, my real name is Xenia Maria Andreu.
Really? Now, what does that mean?
Yeah. It's that Greek. That's Greek.
Ah, okay. And is Sunny the nickname that most people use for that name?
Yeah, Sunny is my nickname. My real Xenia in English is Sonia. Everyone would say Sonia. Drove me nuts. So my family called me Sunny. So it kind of like morphed that way. And
Say it again. Oh, I want to hear you say it again. Say your full name again.
Xenia Maria Andreu.
I love it. Great. Now that's a good Greek accent right there. There you go. Well,
Thanks.
Sunny, I want to wish you the best of luck at the Olympia in the wellness
Thank
division.
you.
And you got a great physique. You had a great year, and hopefully you cap it off with a win.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's been an honor being on here.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. And guys, that's going to take us to the end of another episode of RX Muscle Spotlight. I'm Dave Palumbo with Sunny Andrews. We'll see you next time.